So I'm thinking about ways I can help people without knowing specifics on their lives. And I feel like the general consensus would be if you ask someone what would make their life better, it would be more money. That way you could afford to do the things that you enjoy. You wouldn't have to stress about not having money since the way everything's set up without money, you couldn't feed yourself. You can't live indoors. You can't afford the electric bill. And so there's an extent of that is that makes sense, that obviously if you don't have your basic needs met, it's hard to function as a person. And it's hard to speak on that when I've always been privileged enough to not have to worry about, am I gonna be able to afford dinner, or am I gonna have a roof to sleep under tonight? And there's a lot of people that don't have that. And so it's ideally the way our cities would be structured would actually help people like this, and the money we pay to our government would go to actual needs like this. But the only way that we make sure that happens is by those of us who are in better positions, we focus and improve ourselves and get into these positions where we can actually enact positive change and not just fill our pockets, or the status quo of what we see basically in governments all over the place at every level. And long term, that's going to do so much more good than just giving some cash to any homeless person down the street or whatever. So for those of us who are privileged, and we rent with, regardless, even with rent, everything's skyrocketing and price wise. And for those of us that do live indoors, we do have utilities that we can afford. We have decent jobs that pay the bills. And the fact of the matter is that most of these jobs suck. No one wants to be doing most of these jobs that we're doing. Pretty soon, eventually AI is going to be taking over a lot of things, and then it's going to get interesting whether or not, everything's going to change. I guess I don't want to go into that right now. But as of right now, if you imagine receiving $1 million right now, and just thinking about what you would do with that money. If you're not disciplined, if you don't have a purpose or meaning, you're already miserable, you're just spiritually devoid of any enjoyment in your life besides basic pleasures, all that $1 million is going to go right down the drain. It might take a week or a year, maybe even a few years, but if you don't know how to invest in yourself, then money would just be wasted on you. And if you really wanted something, not quite enough to retire, and that's a whole other thing. Retirement is, how do I put this? Retirement doesn't make sense, because if you already don't have meaning and then you stop even doing what you've been doing for probably decades, and then just go into having to fill up that time, you have to, well, that's the thing, you have to fill it up somehow. And if you're not spiritually grounded in yourself, then you're going to be miserable. And so, coming back to money, if you don't know how to invest in yourself, well, I guess, let me backtrack that. That investing in yourself is something, I guess, you have to really learn. And I've the past couple of years, if you don't have a credit card, I definitely recommend getting one, and that way you can afford to invest in yourself, and you can actually, you're putting money into yourself to make you, or to put you in a better situation to strengthen your resolve, your confidence, to get better jobs, become more confident to create the life you want for yourself. Maybe even start a new business, whatever it is. There's ways to go about this. You can't just expect money to fall in your lap and then you're going to be happy. Things that have helped me past couple years: chiropractic, seeing a chiropractor, acupuncture, yoga, therapy, saunas, sauna and cold plunge. I've been loving cold plunge lately. What else? I guess those are the main ones. The fact of the matter is, all these cost money. Everyone's got to make a living. And going about these things, I got into yoga less than a year ago, almost a year, and went through the teacher training, and now the studio I go to, I go for free. I should be going around to new studios, but I don't even have to really go to the studio. I could just have my own. I've invested in myself, so I know what I'm doing now, what I can get out of it. Obviously, there's more you would get out of being in class, being around people, breathing in community. But because I invested in myself, the returns are more than I could have expected otherwise. And the more that you invest in yourself, the more confident you will be. Sound healing meditations, that's another good one. Massages, if you're not going to be confident if you're in physical pain. I've dealt with that for years, and we're conditioned to shrug things off, and especially men, where we're supposed to toughen up or whatever. But then on the flip side, it can be a guilt thing. It could be whether or not we think we're worthy of feeling good. And that's where therapy can come in and help. But if we're not enjoying every moment, then something needs to change. Obviously, there's going to be levels to enjoyment. You're not going to be in internal bliss every second of the day. But if you're in physical pain and you're not doing anything about it, then that should be your first priority. Is setting yourself up for success. And noticing those things. Paying attention to what causes you pain. And well, that's hard to do on your own, so that's why you have to kind of seeking out help through these self-care avenues, and through them, whether it's a chiropractor, doctor, acupuncturist, yoga teacher, whatever, therapist, they're going to help you notice things about yourself. And then you learn more about yourself, and then you know what you need, you know the direction you need to go in to improve your circumstances and to enjoy your life more. And then once you're there, you can help other people. You can improve on, because that's kind of like where you inevitably go. Because I've seen it with myself and I've read multiple authors that mention this, where the ultimate, what's the right way to put it? The ultimate meaning in your life is to be in service of others, because we're all connected. We're all reflections of each other. And if you're negative about yourself, if you're very, a lot of people, I used to hold a lot of anger, and I would direct that towards other people, but it was because I was angry with myself. And that is, in a sense, normal when you're not confident with where you are. You don't like where you are, just mentally, physically, everything. You don't know, when you don't know what you want to do with yourself, you're going to be angry, lazy, miserable. And yeah, that's what I want to help people with. And it doesn't always require, there's ways to have, to do self-care things that don't require money. You could go for a walk through a park. You can sit in nature. You could sit and meditate. That's harder to do, really, if you're not used to it. You have to kind of find something that works for you, and then you go from there. And then if you have family, it sucks to say, but if you have a good credit score, you have a better advantage of seeking other self-care avenues that you can afford. You can get a credit card, and then you can go in on certain things, but you can't take that for granted. You have to go. Well, you might not, all the things I listed, they might not all work for everybody, but you got to figure out what works. If you don't like where you are now, if you don't feel right, figure out what can put you in that. I was speaking with a dietitian for over a year. That's another one. That was huge. I got on probiotics, and I was relearning things about balancing my meals. Things that I took for granted years ago. My diet has just, my whole life's been all over the place, and that was huge this past year. I won't get into that now, but But that's the other thing too. A lot of healthy foods is expensive financially, and obviously you don't want to rack up too much credit card debt. That the idea is that if you have to use a credit card to try out these self-care avenues in the short term to figure out how to put yourself in a better position sooner than later, then long term you're setting yourself up for success. Anybody might have that next great idea, but if they're too bogged down in mental anguish, physical pain, whatever it is, all that suffering, you get lost in it. Journaling, that's a free one. Just writing out whatever's on your mind, working through. Don't really need a therapist. It does help, but at a certain point, it depends. It's just case by case basis, but depending on how good of a writer you are, you can pretend, you're talking to a therapist. Just write down something, pretend you're talking to someone, and then read it as if someone else wrote that and respond, and then go back and forth. It's not, you have to be a little bit, how should I put this? You can't be afraid to be a little delusional. It's one thing to be talking to yourself, like I'm talking to myself right now. But, and I forget the term for this, where there's different parts of our consciousness or whatever, like the internal manager, the firefighters, the inner child, like stuff like that. Or they're different parts of our subconscious. And it's not like, you might not have different voices in your head. But if you put on paper what different parts of you are thinking, you can see clearly what direction you need to go. I've discovered so much about myself through journaling that it just hit me. Like, it came right out eventually. Maybe not right away, but I'd be surprised at what I'd written down. And I had to take a step back, and it was just kind of like, whoa. And it doesn't happen right away. Acupuncture didn't help right away. Chiropractic didn't help right away. Therapy, that's nothing. It's no good habit is going to make a breakthrough right away. Maybe sometimes. Sometimes they might. At a certain point, it's hard to say. Again, case by case basis. If you go to acupuncture 5 times and it's still not helping you feel any better, maybe that's probably not what you need. You have to assess, try different things, and then get yourself in a good spot so that you can move forward with clarity, knowing what you're going to do with yourself. And the way I'm thinking about this is, this is all general stuff. I could talk all day about what I've done and what I think other people should do. But if I don't know who I'm talking with, if I don't know what you've already tried, what your limitations are, maybe you already have some goals or a framework you're working with, or you could already be on a good path doing certain things, but you're still uncertain about something else, and which is there's always going to be uncertainty. That's par for the course, and it's just a matter of your attitude going into uncertain times, into not trying to make yourself fearless, because fear is just a part of life. It's just a matter of our attitude about fear, just pushing through the thing regardless, and learning more about yourself as you go through. And what that going through looks like is gonna be different for everybody. We're all kind of reflections of each other, though, so it's what you're going through. It's unique in that, but also, I don't want to say common. Someone else somewhere is most, like 99% likely going through the same thing you are, just different circumstance, different, whatever it is. Yeah, and that's, I guess I'll end it there. I'm just gonna start. No one's I'd be surprised, because I've been going for 20 minutes, if anyone's still listening to me at this point, but you can listen to one just at double speed. I probably sound crazy. I think I'm gonna be doing this more often, just yapping. Hopefully, and hoping that resonates with somebody.